How'd you think your line held up the other day?
Yeah, just saying that, there's always things you want to improve on, but I thought we could have protected the quarterback a little better. There's a high standard for us in our room, and I think we all saw it the same way. And, luckily we got a good opportunity to go do it again this week.
How about the run game, run blocking?
Yeah, I think it was efficient, which is always what you're looking at is what's our efficiency level. I think we could have executed on a few combinations, just technique things, but overall, when you look at the numbers, I think it was efficient, and go from there.
Do you think the group is still getting used to working with each other?
Yeah, I think we could probably, in a sense of some language or how we're going to maybe fit certain things, but overall, in general, I don't feel a concern on communication or within our combination blocks, things of those natures. I don't see an issue to that. But like any offensive line, any team, like through September and October, you need to be under the expectations of we're still growing and trying to improve. Any club is. You're not going to play your best football till middle of October, or in late November. As you go through that, so we are in the growth mindset right now of continuing to improve. We're not anything established. I'll be really disappointed if we look at second or third week of October if we're not a much better offensive line compared to the offensive line we are now in September.
What do you see when you watch Andrew Thomas?
Detail, dedication to his craft. It's very important to him. Great competitive spirit, finish, an intelligent player. There's a lot to like.
Has he meshed very well? I know it's going back a couple months now, but has he meshed really well with the rest of the group?
Yeah, I think so. I think we have a high level of camaraderie within the room. Kind of the paradigm and the archetypes within the room of what he is as a leader and how he kind of establishes that. He's welcomed us, newcomers, to the room and embraced our process and how we do things. And it's been he and I were talking about just the history of different things since he's been here just yesterday. And he's been tremendous in that regard.
I'm asking this stuff because a year ago, his season was already hijacked by injury and obviously not what he wanted. Now he has that opportunity to do what he can.
He doesn't take anything lightly in that regard. He appreciates his opportunities and takes advantage of them.
From a run game perspective, you obviously didn't really get that going fully last week, I think it's fair to say. I'm wondering, when you went back and looked at it, what you thought you could do better in regards to getting that specifically going.
There's a lot of factors that go into things like that. So flow of the game, it is what it is. You take your opportunities when you get them. I think the numbers, I think we saw some efficiency within it, but there's definitely improvement to be made within some of our combinations and how we just kind of come off the ball based upon the look that we get. And then some of the answers, I could have probably done a better job of saying, hey, we need to get to X, Y, Z instead of running, ABC. But not overly disappointed in that. Excited about the opportunity this week to go out and play, get better.
When you mentioned the combinations, is that something that just, like you mentioned before, like you hope to be better when you're talking about this group in October, like that's a time on task kind of thing?
Absolutely. And or it's just like, hey, how we seeing it and how we're executing it, and I can coach it better and we can go execute it a little better. But that's offensive line play. You're never going to be satisfied with, it's never, I got maybe 2 or 3 plays in my brain and I think okay, that was perfect.
Do you think Evan Neal could help you in that area, like as an extra lineman and run downs?
Evan definitely excels in run blocking, and he's doing a good job of working himself, kind of back into this mix and getting himself, the rust off. It's been a long hiatus and those injuries, and he's doing a good job in that regard. When given an opportunity, I'm sure he'll be able to help us in that regard.
How difficult are those two guys, Noah Washington's defensive line?
Yeah, no, that is a really good tandem. Really, really talented, and they play the game the right way. They're physical. They get off the football. They have great pursuit. So it's one that it's not hard to get the attention of your room when you're going against premier players like that. They do a really good job, and it'll be a really big challenge for us.
Chapman was kind of like a great story in the offseason, but he starts in the opener. What did he show you in that role?
He's powerful, he's strong. For a guy that's lacking in height, he does not play small. Even in the game on Sunday when they double teamed him, he was able to hold his own and hold his point. So that's part of the things that makes him unique as a player. He got unbelievable strength and quickness and power, and So I was pleased with what he did in his first NFL game.
I don't know that at some point it probably gets, we expected of Dex to dominate a game, but what did you see from him? I mean, he had the sack, he forced the interception. I mean, what did you see just kind of pick up where he left off?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's improving. I say all the time, I tell him all the time, I'm greedy. I don't, he's not a done player in my mind. He's got room to grow, and I'm going to keep my foot in his throat to make sure that he gets there. I mean, he played a good game, but, I don't think it's his best game. I don't think it's the game that's going to say this is who he is as one of the best giant defensive linemen. I think all that's in front of him. And, and he comes out here every day and he works hard and he grinds to improve his game. And it was a good game for him, but I think better things are coming.
How do you determine his playing time? Because he's obviously, I'm sure you'd love to have him out there 100% of the time, but you can't do that.
No.
So how do you determine that?
It's a twofold thing. One, I have a plan going into the game. What series I'm gonna take him out. Through the game, and then me and him have a system that where he can look at me and I can tell he needs a blow and I get him out. I learned a long time ago the worst thing I can do as a coach when you have a player that can change the game is let him get tired and let him get to the point to where he can't recover when it's the big time part of the game. And you got to have faith in the guys behind him to go in there and execute. They can't be him, but they still can allow us to play well as a defense. So those are the two ways that we handle it throughout the course of the game.
How tough is it? I mean, you're going to have some level of drop-off. Like how those next guys, like to try to hold the fort, I guess, while he's getting a breather.
Yeah, but I tell them all the time, they don't have to be Dex, right? They don't have to be Dex. They just got to go be themselves, right? And they just got to play within the scheme and do their job, and we'll be okay, in the defense will function, and we'll play well. But they don't have to go out there and try to do the things that he does or play the way he plays. Each one of these guys are different. God gave them all different gifts, and they have to play within themselves in order to execute at an NFL level.
I don't know if this makes sense, but I'm going to ask it. Your D-line, you're coaching against their offensive line, which is actually Bobby Johnson, who they practice against for 2 years. Is that any kind of schematic element to this game? Like, exactly what he's teaching those guys? He knows exactly what you're teaching your guys? Or is it players play?
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit. I think it's when you take it to that far, to me, as a coach, you got a chance to make a mistake. The film don't lie, right? So you got to judge those players, those offensive linemen, by what you see how they play, and teach my guys to match what they do in the run game, what they do with their hands and feet in pass protection. It's more of that than knowing that he wants to teach this, and he knows that I want to teach that, because sometimes those guys can't go out and execute what we're trying to teach them, right? So what you see on the film is the biggest thing that we coach off of.
How can Burns and Kayvon complement what Dex did in week 1 better against Washington?
I think it's just them going out there and being themselves, and I get it. Everybody's excited because we get this new shiny toy in Burns and Kayvon out there. But the bottom line, fellas, that you all got to understand. A guy gets 600 pass rush attempts throughout the course of 17 games in a season. 600. Okay. And if he gets 13 sacks, he's a multi-million-dollar player, right? 13 out of 600, right? So there's no need to panic that you went through a game and didn't get a sack. They're going to come. You just got to keep working at your craft. They're going to come, okay? Guy gets 3 on Sunday. I can book it right now. He won't see another one for the next 3 or 4 weeks, right? That's the way this league works. So as a coach, you got to get them to understand they're not in high school anymore, where they were just better than everybody and they can go get to the quarterback anytime they want to. They're not in college anymore, where 7 of the 11 weeks, the old linemen that they played against will never touch the NFL. They're playing the best of the best every Sunday at O-line. They're playing the best of the best every Sunday at quarterback. And the hardest thing to do is to get that guy on the ground. So you have to keep working and getting better and better at your craft, so when your opportunity comes, that you don't waste it and you can get him on the ground. That's the reality of the situation, right? So Watt had 3 last Sunday, okay? You watch. See what happens this Sunday. See what happens next Sunday. That's the way this league works. So if all of a sudden one of those guys go out there on Sunday and have a big day, they start their track. And I always tell them, all you got to do is get the first one. Once you get the first one, it starts you on your way. And that's the whole thing as a coach. You can't panic. You got to give them the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is hard to get that guy on the ground. And you have to respect that. And you got to work to make sure that when your opportunity comes, that you can take advantage of it, because they don't come a lot through the course of the game.
How much does it change things for your guys when you go against such a mobile quarterback?
A lot, because we have to be great with our rush lanes. It's really hard for the four of us have to rush together. And I think the biggest thing is there are 6 gaps out there, but there's only 4 of us rushing. So in actuality, if he wanted to get out, he can get out anytime he wants to, right? So, but we have to do a good job of being coordinated on our rushes and making sure that we have a great feel for where those open gaps are so where we can protect it. So when it's a statue back there, you don't worry about it. But a guy like him, that is very explosive, and once he breaks the line, has the ability to take it to the house. It's, the guys have to do a good job of working together.
Jerome, what went into Flott? We saw every training camp rep, and I don't think he took one in the slot.
He took some. You probably didn't
After
see
training
them.
camp, the two weeks where we get kicked out.
He took. Look.
Yeah. So what went into moving him back there?
Well, Drew had an injury then and was out with an Achilles, some Achilles soreness and stuff. And so, we moved Flott back in there and, felt comfortable with him going and giving the rookie giving him a role and letting everybody play was kind of the thought process. And just, Flott's reliability lets you feel like, okay, he'll go in and he'll function and he'll do well. Like he's always locked in, always serious, always on the details. And it just gave the rookie a little more time to get back in after being out for a while.
Do you see that? So now you have Phillips, I guess, on the men, but now you have McLeod on it. This is the way the NFL works. Right?
Yeah.
So do you
Fun being a coach, just juggling. Here we go.
So do you see that staying for Flott, or does he move back outside now because of Nick?
Again, having Flott being able to play inside outside brings us some flexibility. Signing Adoree Jackson allowed Flott to move some now. Just having those pieces week to week give us a chance to kind of pick the matchup for the week, who's best where and when and what situations, and kind of go from there.
I'll keep going. Deonte Banks has had some of his best games against Terry McLaurin in Washington. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just hope he has another one. I have no idea. I just hope that he's in that same mindset and mode and plays really well.
How do you think he played against a tough challenge week 1?
Yeah, you'd like to have 2 plays back. Gosh, obviously the big play, the explosive play got them momentum. And then the touchdown, if love to have those back, but that's the life of a DB. Like if you look at our over 65 play game, there are going to be 5 plays that go one way or the other way for the secondary. Either we made them and let's go, we're happy. Those 5, we did make them, and and that was our day. As a group, there are about 5 plays in that game. If we make them, I'm sitting here today chest poked up, let's go. We didn't make them. So we got to figure out how we make them this week.
Newbin was one of the few guys on defense that played 100% of the snaps. What does he do for you guys the last few weeks at camp and to gain the trust where you want him out there every single play?
Yeah, he's a really, really good communicator. He's really, really locked in all the time. And, you felt his physical presence out there. He helps others play by calming things down with his communication and controlling things in the back end for us. And we anticipate him just continuing to grow and get better.
Shane mentioned Trey Hawkins yesterday as a possibility with what you have at outside corner. He was obviously such a big part of it at this time last year. Mm-hmm. Didn't play much at the end of last season. Don't know that anybody's really asked about him all summer. Where is he at in his development?
Yeah, it's still developing. Again, obviously we got guys in front of him that are playing right now, but his job and my job is to keep him every week getting better and better. So when his number is called, which it will be called, he's ready to go and goes out and plays like the player he is, the player he can be.
Have you seen Drew develop? Hey, how's it going? Hi. Drew Phillips.
What about Drew?
How have you seen him develop and him getting that forced fumble?
You know, again, he had a little bit of a time in training camp where he was injured.
Yeah.
And during that time, you know, like it was like a lot with all the things that are going on in the defense. And so got him back on track, we think. And, you know, he did some really good things in the game. He only played, I think, about 16, 17 snaps. But those 16, 17 snaps were pretty good ones for him and executed at a high level. And we expect him to continue building and getting better. And hopefully we'll continue to see those big plays that he made in the game.
When a player like Isaiah Simmons is unhappy with his lack of usage, how do you handle that?
Everybody's unhappy that's not a starter. You know, if you're not a starter and you're not unhappy, you're probably the wrong guy, right? That's for everybody in the room. Your job as a professional is do my job, support my teammates, be prepared, work my ass off in practice and whatever role reps I get in the game so that once I get in, I'm ready and that I play well so that I never come out. That's your job as a professional. That's what I expect of everybody in the room, right? Everybody in the room should be pissed off if they're not a starter. That should drive them, right? Everybody in the room who is a starter should be thinking, I'm holding on to my seat because I don't want that other guy to get in the game so that he can play in my seat and maybe play better than me. That's the NFL.
When he is in the game on defense for you in the role you have for him now, how can he help you guys?
His length and his speed, you know, he is a different athlete than I've ever coached. I've never coached a man of his size and length with his speed and his loose body. Like, he does things you can't coach. You know, he's like different that way. And when he gets in, you know, hopefully he's ready. I think he will be and plays to the level we expect him to. I think he will.
Before the injury, what did you think of Darius's debut?
Yeah, I thought Darius did a good job. The one thing I thought he did is he played fast, right? And he played aggressive. He made some mistakes, right, which is going to happen from game to game. But I was really pleased that he go out there and just really handled his business the way it needed to be handled. I thought he did a good job.
What were you looking at there? Because I know obviously Micah was sort of there, like in a case of emergency. So what did Darius show you that you didn't need to go to?
I thought he was playing fast. I didn't think it was too big for him. You know what I mean? As a rookie going out there, his first opportunity, you know what I mean? I thought he was just doing some good things, you know? So we just, we let it ride.
And Micah seems like he's ready to rock this week?
Yeah. You know, we'll continue to evaluate as the week goes, and we'll see what happens. But I think he's trending. I think he's doing a good job.
You got those vets on the practice squad. How ready are they if they're called upon?
Yeah, I mean, those guys they've been working, man. They've been working. I think Ty's done a really good job. I thought Curtis has done a good job. He's been around. He's picked it up pretty fast, man. So I think we're building some good depth in the room, which is good.
What are those talks like with Darius when he has, you know, maybe such a strong first impression, but like it might be sort of this fleeting window of sorts with Micah coming back? Just how do you kind of, I guess, guide him through that, explain that to him?
You know, the funny, I think Darius is just a guy that just is really excited about playing football. So, you know, whether he's got a small role or a big role, I think he accepts whatever his role might be from week to week and takes it very seriously. So it's not something that, you know, we've had to broach too much about. You know what I mean? He's just been ready to go when his name's called upon.
How's he different now than maybe when he first got here in rookie camp and you started working with him for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's grown. I think he's very conscientious. Like, he's always asking, like, what do I need to work on? Like, where do I need to improve at, you know, to keep getting better? And so, you know, we've kind of pinpoint that stuff for him. I think he attacks it on his own, right? And I think he continues to improve in those things, which we saw that all the way from freaking spring all the way through training camp, right? And I think that's why he was able to get some of the results that he got in the game.
Anything specific that you're most proud of with his growth?
With Darius specifically?
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of things, man. I think just the thing that he kept his aggressive nature, his aggressive personality when he got out there. And the moment wasn't too big for him. He just played like how I've seen him play since he's been here, which was exciting.
Daniel said something earlier this week about you working on him with footwork stuff. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because I think people hear footwork and they're like, you know, 6 years in, why is the quarterback still working on footwork?
Yeah, footwork is a thing you work on
doesn't matter what year you're in, year 1, year 10, year 15, you're working on footwork every day, timing, all that with the routes. I don't think it's a year 6 thing or anything like that. You're doing that constantly. That's day one. That's all throughout the season. You're always working on footwork just to get the timing down, get into a rhythm. I think that's something you always do.
Did you notice something specific? I mean, you don't have to share what it is, but did you notice something specific that you wanted to correct that maybe is leading to some of there were balls at his receivers' feet and stuff we don't usually see from Daniel?
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily footwork per se. I think that's just when you get, to the top and making sure your base is firm. There's a lot of things that go into that. Like, people see a missed pass and think it can be this, but it's really that. There's, you spend a lot of time as a coach and a quarterback in the offseason of going through fundamentals, and you realize that it's not just one little thing. It's, from the start to the end. And then you throw in on top of that, is there pressure? Is there not pressure? Do you have to move? So no, not one specific thing. You just keep constantly drilling it, working on it, and refining, and make the you make the same throw sometimes in a game where one you hit and one you don't, and it's just, all right, let's go back and do the one we hit.
Shea, what do you come out of that game trying to coach Daniel at to improve? Like, what, as a quarterback coach, what do you see?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything, again, one specific thing. I think you go back and, you look at the things that were good and praise those. You look at the things that are correctable and correct those. I felt like he, for not playing a game in 10 months with live things, I thought he saw things well. I thought the decision-making process was good, and, sometimes you make one faster or slower based on how the defense is, and I think just the timing of getting in there with live bullets and everything like that is the thing that you just got to get back to getting used to. But I think he did make good decisions as far as just operating the offense and going through his progressions.
How much of your job is the psychology of it? I assume it's a group effort with you, coordinator, head coach, just in terms of, keeping Daniel's mind right in addition to the X's and O's stuff.
Yeah, the thing I'd say about that is I don't ever worry about Daniel's mindset or anything like that. I've said this pretty much since I got here with him. Daniel's the same guy every day. Good, bad, and different. He's the same guy every day. He comes ready to work. I knew when we came in Monday that he was ready to go. He had the same look that he always has on Monday, whether it's good or bad. So that's the thing I appreciate about him, and that's why I like being in the meeting room with him.
Does it hurt you to hear the reaction of the fans in a game like that, where the time and the work he's putting in, and then to hear that quickly?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm worried about the game, and I got a headset on. Yeah. I can't hear anything like that. I'm focused on just coaching them and, trying to move on to the next play. So I don't think any of us are, focused on that. Obviously, we just want to do better.
Shea, is that the challenge of coaching? I mean, everything that we've talked about to this point, but just the idea that you see the same guy Monday through Saturday here, and then a game like that happens on Sunday. How do you figure out what's not going well for him, and how do you change that when you don't want to change anything else?
I think it's just, like Dave's has said since we've been here, is trust in our process. Do you make little tweaks here and there maybe throughout the week? Sure, you're always trying to do that to improve. I don't think you can pinpoint it on one thing. And I think if you go to the extreme of trying to change everything, then you're not doing what we've said since we've been here. What we're going to do is trust in the process. So, game one, we got it out of the way. We'll come back. We'll tweak a couple of things here or there. But I'm confident that we got the right process of what we're doing and how we're going to go ahead and come out going forward.
One of the things that analysts who played quarterback analysts in the media say that Daniel's doing is it's almost like he's trying to avoid the catastrophic play and just I'll just take the easiest possible route, and if it's an incompletion, lost his aggressiveness, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Is that something you see? How do you coach that out of him?
I don't think it's something I've necessarily seen. Our mantra is aggressive, not reckless, so we're going to try and play to that. all the time as much as we can. So certainly we don't want to put the ball in danger, but we want to keep that aggressive mindset.
Did you, since this is the first time all of us have seen him in a real game action, physically does he look the same to you as pre-injury?
Physically he looks the same. Nothing noticeable there. I think he worked hard in the offseason to get to that point, and I think he did that.
What do you think when Drew and Tommy aren't getting reps with the offense because of the way you guys give it all to Daniel? How do you keep those guys ready? What is your procedure for keeping those quarterbacks?
Yeah, those guys do reps with the scout team. Everywhere I've been, that's how it's always been. The starter gets all the reps, and then the other guys go ahead and get in the scout team reps. Or while that's going on, we'll have the other quarterback on the third field going through those same exact plays. And then after practice, they take those reps from the script and get them too.
We haven't seen Drew play since he got hurt in that game. How, if for one reason or another he was called on, how is he physically, and what have you seen from him since then to suggest how he would play?
Yeah, I got a lot of confidence in Drew. That's why we brought him in. All through OTAs and training camp, saw really good quarterback, guy who's been in the league for a lot of years, so I got confidence in Drew.
I just want to clarify something. You meant, so after practice, sometimes you'll give Drew and Tommy, let's say, out on the field, the script that Daniel ran.
Yeah, they have
Sometimes
all of those
they'll
guys
run it.
have the script, and they'll go and, grab a couple of the receivers, throw those routes, so they have them.
You've seen him on the field now, right? In games. What do you learn? Like,
I mean, really,
that he can
one
handle?
game.
What do you have
He's been able to handle.
I'm talking about preseason too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put a whole lot of stock in that, in the limited amount of reps that he had in the preseason. But I mean, he's met every expectation and probably exceeded them just in terms of what we've asked him to do, and the way he's prepared to go out there and do it. And I thought he showed up pretty well in the game. But there's a lot of growth that that can come between week 1 and week 2. So we're working towards that.
In what ways? When you look at a rookie,
I would never get into specifics about any of those kinds of things, but I mean, he knows what areas that we talked about and making corrections and things that we can improve on. And I mean, that will always be constant with everybody. It's not just a Malik Neighbors thing. It's everybody, and that's constantly what you're trying to get a little bit better every day that we come out here, and then play better each and every week.
How did you see him handle coming off a loss for the first time?
I thought he handled it well. I mean, I think we're in a good headspace, and obviously none of us are pleased with the results that we got. But we come back and go to work and invest in this plan and go out there and try to go do better.
Joey talked about after the draft kind of how his toughness and durability kind of stood out with how he handled the shoulder injury. Obviously that maybe happened with the ankle injury, and now this knee flaring up. I guess how were of his toughness for you back then, and how have you seen that maybe?
No, I think he's been out here every day. He's been able to do everything that we've asked him to do, and he's handled a lot. He's had a lot of reps, so he's been able to handle everything we've asked him to do. Yeah.
What do you have to tell your receivers when teams are playing you two safeties really deep, trying to take away that that deep ball? It seemed like Minnesota did a lot of that the other day.
Yeah, they did. They sure did. I mean, it's just you got to adjust to how the defense wants to play. We can't always do everything that we want to get done. So, make the plays when they come to us. And that's what we got to do when the ball comes to us. We got to make plays when, we got to block in the run game. We got to be targeted right. We got to strain to finish. We got to finish longer in the ball carrier and do all the right things, and then let the game come to us.
How much do you have to preach patience in a way to them?
I think they were great.
Because you say everybody wants big play, right? Everybody wants to make big plays out there.
But we're just not out there to make big plays. I mean, the guys understand the game is 60 minutes, and every series isn't going to be, maybe exactly the way you or the exact coverage you practice it against in practice or what have you, because they're trying to stop what we're doing. So I thought the mentality of the guys, throughout the course of the game was great.
How do you feel your room if Malik and Slayton weren't able to go? Just kind of your level of comfort in the receivers behind them and how they could step up.
Well, I mean, that's the job of every guy who's on the roster. They got to be ready if their number's called.
What about Jalen in that regard? Mm-hmm. How much does he sort of have to?
He's locked in and ready. I thought he did well with the plays that he had in the game the other day. He's ready to go. I mean, he obviously we'd like to have the one back there towards the end of the game. Got a chance to make a tough play, and I think if he catches that, good things are going to happen. But he was locked in. he was ready to go the entire game.
How much do you have to keep in a young player's ear like that, though? Because obviously, he's kind of disappointed that,
Did he
wasn't
say that?
in that. I'm surmising that a little bit.
yeah.
He didn't exactly say that, but he didn't get to play a lot in the first 3 quarters, and he had spent the summer, thinking he was going to be in a bigger role. I'm just talking about from a mental aspect as a coach. How much do you have to monitor that stuff when it does go and he's not playing that much in a game?
I mean, I have constant communication with all the guys, so I'm not caught off guard by anything, and try to anticipate any issues that might come up. And like I said, I think that they're all working well together. They're being good teammates, and they're ready when their number's called.